completed here for the first time on track, and we are now at 10 o'clock and the light has gone green, and we have got FP1. So let's give you some practice pointers from Mark Hughes of Motorsport magazine, who says traditionally a one-stop race, new slot in the calendar though, promises track temperatures up to 20 Felipe Nasser just came on the team radio saying he thinks he's lost power, but yes, I can see on the screen that
so new chassis good, engine bad.
Yeah,
for Nasser. Yeah, so it Manor are just telling me that it was a mechanical problem for Haryanto, which is why he's been stuck in the garage for so long. It does look like that, whether it's suspension, I think it was suspension, is now fixed. And you can see Rio is just about to step into the car, so good news from the star of our Facebook Live section this morning, Rio's breakfast. So if you didn't catch it, go to the Sky Sports F1's Facebook page and take a look. Rachel Brooks has breakfast with Rio Haryanto. I haven't seen it yet, Crofty, on Watch Again, but apparently
I was going to go and pop down to breakfast and have a little look at it this morning live
in the strange Athletes Village breakfast hall that we stay in. We're staying in the Athletes.
It's a bit planted, isn't it?
It does look planted. It looks very, very good to drive. I'm sure if you were the co-driver sitting in the passenger seat, you'd be enjoying it. Although minus a few sausage sandwiches and
not had a sausage. You offered me half a sausage last night. I turned it down as well. I'm like Rio Haryanto. I'm watching what I'm eating this week. I noticed he had breakfast yesterday and had beans on toast rather than the chicken nuggets. But he's on the track. It's good to see. They've got him out for the final few laps at Manor. He's actually gone faster than Alfonso Max Verstappen.
I think we should mention Carlos Sainz. He's happy. This will probably be one of the ones, like they said, in track comes a bit of drag. Clearly.
And 3 seconds off the pace. Fourth in the race, but sadly for Sainz his brakes failed. And that was the end of his Russian Grand Prix weekend. Retirement threw the car out. Now, whether that bump came from the curb or just on the track itself.
It's funny, you look at the shot goes through the front axle and then very quickly oscillates with the rear axle.
A couple of tenths of a second ahead of his teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Mercedes 1 and 2 though, and for Mercedes they've topped FP1 at every single race so far this season. The large margin of 7 tenths of a second, surely that will be a little less come this afternoon. Vettel ahead of Raikkonen by a couple of tenths, Massa ahead of Ricciardo by pretty much the same margin. 2 Williams in the top 10 on a track that they might fancy their chances at for this weekend. Sergio Perez, 9th fastest for Force India, getting a Force India into the top 10, and for the first time this season Max Verstappen has been out of the top 10 in an FP1 session. Alfonso Celis, the slowest man in the other Force India, 5 seconds off the pace. Nico, fourth in the race, but sadly for Sainz his brakes failed. And that was the end of his Russian Grand Prix weekend. Retirement threw the car out. Now, whether that bump came from the curb or just on the track itself.
It's funny, you look at the shot goes through the front axle and then very quickly oscillates with the rear axle.
A couple of tenths of a second ahead of his teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Mercedes 1 and 2 though, and for Mercedes they've topped FP1 at every single race so far this season. The large margin of 7 tenths of a second, surely that will be a little less come this afternoon. Vettel ahead of Raikkonen by a couple of tenths, Massa ahead of Ricciardo by pretty much the same margin. 2 Williams in the top 10 on a track that they might fancy their chances at for this weekend. Sergio Perez, 9th fastest for Force India, getting a Force India into the top 10, and for the first time this season Max Verstappen has been out of the top 10 in an FP1 session. Alfonso Celis, the slowest man in the other Force India, 5 seconds off the pace. Nico.
In Sector 1, 34.7 as opposed to Lewis's 34.6. That's Rio Haryanto, who brought out some double yellow flags and very nearly got clipped by Valtteri Bottas a few moments ago, but Haryanto having his speed stop, go that little bit faster and not pay the penalty for increased fuel consumption. At Mercedes 1 and 3, Sebastian Vettel, before he had his loss of electronics, did put in a decent time of a 1:38.2 on the super soft tyre. Raikkonen up there, but a long way off the pace of his teammate Ricciardo, and Bottas Fiat and Mazda. You know, let's wait and see what McLaren Honda can come back with for tomorrow. And after that, Marcus Ericsson, the slower of the two drivers, his teammate Felipe Nasser having a much better day with the new chassis that they've fitted to his Sauber.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Paul.
So Hamilton with the peak, and Nico Rosberg almost matching him. 6/100ths of a second between Hamilton and Rosberg, and then the two Ferraris who were kind of tripping over each other a little bit, and Kimi Raikkonen getting in Sebastian Vettel's way before Vettel put in his best time of the session, a 1:37.0. Two Mercedes, two Ferrari, two Williams, and then Toro Rosso, McLaren, Toro Rosso, Force India and Red Bull, who just seem to have been lagging a little bit behind in that session compared to their pace from yesterday. Ricciardo 11th fastest, just ahead of his teammate Danny Kvyat, who was 13th fastest overall. Felipe Nasser was the slowest man on the track. It was Marcus Ericsson was the lead Sauber. Rio Haryanto in the end ahead of Pascal Wehrlein. So some good team battles to look forward to come qualifying. It seems that Mercedes are going for pole by themselves.
But it does look like it's going to be
2 years here in Sochi. Ferrari never had a car in the top three.
First time since they joined Regio, because I'm not sure they've
Might provoke a
struggling with rear grip on that, and he slopped in a 10th, or just actually a few hundredths behind his teammate as Magnussen. I'm sure they've got some engine mode to turn up as well on that Mercedes-powered Williams.
Yes, they keep it turned down very low for the first part of the weekend. Williams and Force India and Manor as well. And Rio Haryanto trying to complete the season with just 4 of their 5 allocated engines, try and make them last. Haryanto crosses the line in 9th.
Haryanto's had the edge. Oh, we're doing a feature on he does not out-qualify his teammate. Not a whole lot in it.
And it's lights out and away we go. They were held on the grid for a long time, but Rosberg's got away well, as has Valtteri Bottas and Kimi Raikkonen and Felipe Massa. Danny Ricciardo cuts off Sebastian Vettel, who's already gained a place on Sergio Perez as they race now down towards turn 2 and the first braking zone. It's Rosberg in the lead. Raikkonen on the inside of Valtteri Bottas. Raikkonen takes second place and there's contact in the back. And it's the two Red Bulls that are getting tangled up. Danny Kvyat and Danny Ricciardo, and I think it's maybe Ricciardo that came off worse, and there's a spin. There is a spinning Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel. At the start again, 844 metres from pole down to the apex of turn 2, and already you see Sainz getting around the outside of Verstappen. Really good start from him and the Toro Rosso.
Yeah, so the front of the pack getting away relatively evenly, apart from Ricciardo a little bit slow. So there then is Vettel, back to his gearbox penalty, giving him plenty of pain, isn't it, back there? He goes up the inside of turn 2, does Vettel. That's turn 1. So now he's following Ricciardo. He has a look at Ricciardo, and then steaming in, you'll see the Red Bull, and it's going to go clean into the back of the Ferrari there, so knocks him around into his teammate, and then at the back, about 4 or 5 more cars make contact.
Haryanto involved in that particular one, and Hulkenberg getting sandwiched in the middle of it. Here's the Ferrari down the inside, as you say. Kvyat hits him there. Then Ricciardo has to go wide. Bits of bodywork all over the place as we see the Sauber and the Manor. Ricciardo finishes ahead of Sainz, ahead of Palmer and Ericsson, and Kvyat, Nasser, Gutierrez and Wehrlein. Confirmation then, the winning margin 25 seconds between Rosberg and Hamilton. Kimi Raikkonen was 6 seconds off in 3rd place. He had a comfortable margin over Bottas. The top 5 really quite widely strung out, and we lost from this race Verstappen, Vettel, Hulkenberg and Haryanto. Let's hear from the Mercedes-Benz head of motorsport, Toto Wolff, who's with Ted.
Well, he's got it all.